sides. With a loud moan, I cried out, "Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this?" Soon after, an idea popped into my mind to go for a long walk in nature. A presence of peace came upon me and assisted me into a car that I was borrowing to drive to Crawford Lake near Milton. It was clearly beyond me because I was a total wreck. After walking in that old-growth forest contemplating my life, I came to a lookout on the edge of a cliff and sat while watching two turkey vultures glide effortlessly through the sky. I longed for the freedom in their flight, which was opposite to my own struggle. All of a sudden, a third turkey vulture surprisingly swooshed behind me, and God spoke to me for the first time. Without words, he powerfully resurrected a forgotten memory from when I was 9. I had prayed to God to ask to help me find something, and nothing happened. I felt disappointed, but I just carried on, not really thinking much of it. But in that memory, God revealed to me that because he didn't perform a miracle for me that day, I stopped believing in him. It hit me like a ton of bricks. In my struggle, I thought that I had been abandoned and was alone in this world. But the reality was that I had abandoned God. I sobbed for about 30 minutes as I continued to watch those wounds soar, snot everywhere. It was very cathartic. I ran back to my car in glee, as though I was a little girl being chased by her loving father, which is more meaningful than you can imagine. You see, I didn't have a father because he was murdered when I was 21, but that's a whole other story. The experience that day motivated me to find more of God, but I didn't know the way. I searched with all my heart, mind, and strength through hallucinogenic drugs, intensive breath work, occultic practices, opening myself up to the vast spiritual realm. 4 years after that initial encounter, Jesus Christ revealed himself to me. I had just returned home from a soul-seeking journey to Brazil and wondered how God wanted to use me. I went online wondering what happens when people are called to God. I knew I needed spiritual guidance, and I discovered that a Christian training event was being held in my city a few weeks later. You know, I never related with Christians. I related with everyone else, but there was something quite different about Christians. I mistook their purity for a lack of suffering or life experience, thinking that they lived in a bubble. I had a depth of suffering, and I lived life to the fullest, so I just couldn't relate. But there at the training event, I felt completely welcomed by them. And I noticed that they had a genuine relationship with God. We read from the Bible, and I was so hungry for more. My small group prayed over me. They told me that Jesus wanted to have a personal relationship, and that he wanted me all to himself, which meant to put down all the other paths, spiritual paths I was involved with, to just follow him. Even though I said that I wasn't ready, they didn't give up, and I am forever thankful. One woman said, "Isabella, if you really want to help people, you need to be in the light with Jesus." I didn't really understand what that meant, but of course I wanted to help people. I lived for that. So following their prayer, I asked Jesus to come into my heart to be my Lord and Savior. And immediately, what felt like an earthquake came over me, and I screeched really loudly. A veil was lifted from my eyes, and I could see Satan coming out from hiding behind the spirit that I worshipped as part of a Brazilian cult. I was in shock. I had been deceived. I went home that night and went straight for a bath to process all that just happened. I wept. Finally, I was where I longed to be. I no longer needed to fight on the battlefield because Jesus already did that for me on the cross 2,000 years ago. I then started a shower. Clearly, I needed to be in the water. The tears kept flowing, and I ended up choking on water and couldn't breathe. Interestingly, there was that same presence of peace that came upon me, assuring that everything was going to be all right. But in the natural, I couldn't breathe. I was struggling. As soon as I had the thought, this is it, my life is over, I turned around and Jesus Christ was standing in front of me with his arms open, his hands outstretched. Nothing and no one compared to how radiantly beautiful Jesus was. He was made of light and living water. So here I was choking and he just stood there. I knew that I needed to make a choice, to either reach out for Jesus or to die. Can you guess what I did? Yeah, I reached out for Jesus and he filled me with breath. I knew in that instance that he is God and that he's the healer that I so desperately needed for the brokenness of my soul. I gave my whole life to him right then and there. Fully restored, he began to remove all the things in my life that were destructive and false. And through God's transforming power, he gave me new life, filled with true peace and never-ending joy, even in the midst of the most difficult trials. I thought I was living life to the fullest before, but I was in utter darkness. A relationship with the living Jesus Christ is complete, and it's how we are made to be. Come to Jesus